fourth step. And I'm like, so today we're going to talk about something that most entrepreneurs and freelancers tend to overlook, and that's how they're positioned in the market. And if you've ever wanted to charge more money for your products or services, then you're really going to want to pay attention to this video, especially if you've had that little voice in the back of your head that's saying, oh no, if I raise my prices, my clients probably won't pay them, and I'm going to go hungry, starving out in the rain. That's not going to happen. Typically what I found is if you raise your price, you actually get more clients. But let's jump into this positioning strategy so you can understand how a premium strategy can serve you. And for a long time, I've been using this strategy and I've never had a good name for it. And finally, I saw it in action because someone did it to me. And so now it's named the Picture Perfect Positioning Strategy. So let's get into it. Just this past week, my wife and I were in an art store because we wanted to set up a home studio. We planned to buy a couple easels, some paint brushes, a few canvases, and some paint. And even though my mom has worked at art school ever since I was a kid, and I could have taken all these art lessons, I know nothing about her. I've always been the business guy, I played video games, and for some reason, I've never really paid attention to art, but my wife is really good at drawing, and she wanted to start painting, so we're doing it. So we went ahead and went to the art store, and when we arrived, we had all of our paint supplies, and the last thing we needed to get was canvases. And I noticed that there was a whole price range of canvases. There's really low-end canvases and there's really high-end canvases. And I'm sure there's some sort of difference, and inherently I assumed that you get what you pay for. But I flagged down the manager of the store, and she walked over, and I was like, hey, so what's the difference between this canvas that's $20 and this canvas that's $200? And she's like, well, let me show you. Basically with canvases, you get what you pay for. And I was like, huh, that's what I thought. And she picks up the big canvas, the high quality one, and she flips it over. She says, let's look at the back and I'll explain to you how canvases are made so you understand. And she goes through it and she says, if you look at the outside of the expensive canvas, it actually has two pieces of wood that hold the canvas together and it makes it really sturdy so it doesn't warp over time. Now, if you look at the small details of the actual canvas and how it's made, you'll see that it has one thread going down and two threads going across. What this means is it's a higher quality canvas. It's not going to stretch, it's not going to warp, and it's going to hold the paint better for the lifetime of canvas. Now, this particular type of canvas is a gallery quality canvas. And artists know that if they want to show their work or sell it for a high value, it needs to be painted on a gallery quality canvas. And so I was like thinking in my head, wow, this is pretty cool. And immediately it seemed like she had narrowed in on the fact that Yardena was going to be painting the canvases and that it was important to me that those canvases last a long time. And she says, well, if you want your art to last a lifetime and your kids and your grandkids to have access to that art, the same art your wife is going to spend all the small details on, all that time, you want to do it on a gallery canvas. If she's just practicing, you should move to the cheaper ones. So she walked us over to the cheaper canvases and she pulled it up and she flipped it over just like she did with the expensive one. And she says, you see how it only has one wood bar here around the outside? And you see how it's like not all the way straight on this one? That's what happens when you use a cheap canvas. When the moisture happens and the heat happens, the wood warps. And then when you get into actual canvas fibers, there's one going down and just one across. And it just doesn't hold the paint and the material tends to stretch a lot more. And then she takes the canvas and she sets it down on the table that's sitting there. And she's able to rock it back and forth because the canvas, the frame had already warped. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, if Yardena is gonna spend all this time in the details, because she's super detail oriented on making canvases, or making anything art-wise, if she's gonna spend all that time on the details, I want the canvas to be good and to last for a really long time. And so immediately, I thought we were gonna buy cheap canvases, and now we're walking out with expensive canvases. I've got them under my arm, and we're pushing the cart up to the front, and on the way up, we're walking with the manager, and I see the same brand canvas that it was much larger than what we needed. It was huge. And I was like, how are you able to run such a sale on these? I mean, doesn't it cost a lot to make the canvases? And she says, well, since you're buying so much stuff, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. When it comes to making canvases, making high quality canvases isn't really that much more expensive. What it is artists and galleries really want gallery quality canvas because they know it'll last, and if you do great artwork on a practice canvas, you can't submit it to a gallery. So artists know they have to buy these canvases, and it's all about positioning because these canvases will last and the others won't. And I really found that to be the best metaphor for entrepreneurs because it doesn't mean that you have to spend that much more time making your product that much more spectacular. You just need to know what specifically your client is trying to accomplish, and then align your offering and your quality offering to match those needs. So if you're being compared, let's say it's the final race and you're doing a freelancing project on design or something like that, and you're being compared to one design agency with another. If you understand what the client's needs are and why they want to have design, you're better able to position yourself as a luxury product. So while this strategy might seem complex, it's really not. The picture-perfect positioning strategy really boils down to 4 steps. The first step is understanding what your client really wants to accomplish. Do they want their art to last a really long time because their wife spends a lot of time on it? Or do they want their branding to be the best out there because it's going to let them have access to opportunities that they didn't otherwise have? Understand what the driving force is behind them hiring you. If you're able to do that, you're half the way there to being able to position yourself. So the second step is to frame the conversation about quality and price. Us humans tend to assume that things that are more expensive are better quality, and things that are better quality are more expensive. Frame that conversation, and you're going to be able to justify why you're more expensive. So step 3 is to explain how your product's quality is different than others. Just as the art store manager had taken us through the different parts of the canvas, you should take your client through your special process or your unique selling point that makes your product different. If you're able to do this and it lines up with your client's goal, it's a no-brainer. So now the 4th step is to paint a picture of what would happen if the client cut corners and used a lower quality canvas, or didn't use your product and services. See, the art store manager was able to say and tune in to the fact that I was interested in Yardena's work lasting for a lifetime. And she was able to say, if you don't buy these canvases, they're not going to last a lifetime. Suddenly it was a no-brainer for me to. If you can do that with your product and services, justifying a higher price is never a problem. And you're never going to have to worry about those little thoughts inside your head that come up and say, what happens if the clients don't want to work with me at a higher price? Well, listen, your products and services are worth more money than what you're charging if they're meeting the client's end goal. Well, I know all of this sounds complex. I've actually created the Picture Perfect Positioning Strategy Guide that will actually walk you through all the different steps, along with key insights that just don't fit into a video format. This guide isn't going to be free for long, so you should download it now. There should be a download link below this video. If you're worried about the voices inside your head telling you shouldn't raise your prices, figure out your positioning, and all of those will go away. I'm Reese, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll talk soon.